previously on the channel.
I got the Driblet. That should work. Is it not going? We're gonna troubleshoot this.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You guys are gonna learn something today. Well, today we're here to talk about this little guy, the Driblet. I have really liked this thing for the time that I've flown it. And if you guys haven't checked out my first video, go ahead and check that out over here. It just gives my overall thoughts and opinions on the Driblet, in first impressions, stuff like that, simple stuff. It's a fun video, go check it out. It's actually my most popular video, so it's definitely not why I'm doing this one here. But this is just again updated thoughts and review on the Driblet frame. And Drew, if you're listening, this might be maybe a video you can look at for possible improvements on the frame, because there's a couple things here that I would fix. But this has been my only 2-inch frame, and I've been really happy with it so far. It's just been a blast. But we've run into a couple things. Well, for one, if you guys look closely here, I broke the camera lens. So I ordered another one of those, and so hopefully we'll be able to get that on there. And we'll talk about why that broke here in a second. It's definitely not because I ran into something really hard. And this thing kind of sticks out from the frame just a little bit. It's not that. No. But we're gonna talk about that a little bit. And if you guys can't see, I'm gonna have this zoom in a little bit. If you guys can't see, this actually kind of hits the frame. The propeller does right there, and that's not what we want at all. And the reason that is, I'll get into it here in a sec. But the reason that is because I actually broke this frame. If we look closely here, I broke it right there where probably a fracture point is. It gets a little thin there because where we got to put the strap, and that's where 2 holes are. That's where the curve, the apex of the curve is, if that's the right term, I'm not sure. But that's where that is, and it broke on me. So, I mean, this frame's been good, and it's been fairly durable, except for that, and I've only flown it a few times. Every time I've enjoyed it. It's been a blast. I mean, really, it has been. But that kind of stinks that it broke right there. I mean, it's only like, it's probably less than 100 thousandths. Which is super, it's not much to begin with, but just carbon fiber, that's just not enough, I don't think. I also broke one of the screws here. Oh, and it looks like it may have broke the frame right there as well. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna try to fix this thing today, and I'll kind of show you guys what I've done to it as far as the build goes, because that was kind of lacking in the last one. And so I think I'm gonna kind of go over how I built it, and hopefully that'll help you guys out. That was brought to my attention by Juju FPV. He messaged me, and he was kind of confused as to how I built it, where I put the VTX and the receiver. So I'm gonna go over that a little bit in this video, kind of show an overview of how I kind of built this. And if you guys really want like a full-on build video, you guys just gotta let me know, and I'll try to do that. But let's go over to the table outside in the kitchen, and let's try to fix this, and I'll kind of show you guys what is wrong. We're gonna fix this guy. All right, let's. Now I realize we're not in the best position in the world here, but hopefully you guys are able to kind of see what's going on here, and that's kind of what's important here. So let's take this thing apart. Let's look at some of the pieces, see what I would improve, and let's fix this guy up so that it can fly again. And we gotta fix that. Look at that. It's terrible. It's terrible. So let's get into it. Let's go. And you know, I think I'm gonna take the props off. As much as I don't really want to, I think I should probably take the propellers off. There we go. Props are off. I think the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start kind of taking some of the sides off here so that I can get to some of the components. So I can start, you know, stripping some of the electronics away from the frame. So let's get into that now. Didn't quite work out the way I wanted to. That's okay. We'll just save this stuff here for later. We got one side off, or both sides off actually. That's okay. Yeah, we gotta take these zip ties off that I put here holding down the motor wires here. Right there. Yeah, I gotta start taking those off. This also might be a good time to show how I've kind of constructed this thing, how I've kind of constructed this stack. So if you see here, I'm gonna do my best to try to get it to focus. So if you look at this here, we got the 4-in-1, the flight controller, and that's one stack there. And above that, I actually have a zip tie going to the VTX, which is right above that, and that is separating, and that's being separated by foam pad, so that it doesn't touch any, you know, circuits or anything like that. It's just there to separate. And then I have another piece of foam tape stuck to the top of that, which then holds the receiver. And so that's kind of how I've put it on there, and it seemed to work out okay. So that's about as detailed, I think, you know, side by side as we're gonna get. So, you know, I've twisted some of this around, you know, and all that. So I'm kind of hoping that we'll be able to kind of just take this whole thing off, put another main plate underneath it, and just put things back on. Oh, and if you guys also see here, let's move this camera out of the way. See that? There's supposed to be a screw right there, and that's not good. It's not there. I guess it must have gotten torn off at one point. So that is not what we want. So we're gonna fix that. And luckily there was actually a spare screw that I'm able to use. And what's nice about these are actually nylon screws, which makes sense that so that it doesn't, you know, it's not conductive in any way. But they also make it so that you can take some wire clippers or something, and you're just able to clip these off like no one's business. So that'll be nice. But first, let's take the motors off, loosen up the flight controller, and let's continue. There's that broken screw. Come on, see if it'll focus. It ain't gonna focus. But yeah, that thing broke, and I do got a replacement. That's about where I think I was cutting them, right here. So I wasn't really taking much off, but what was happening is the frame was kind of getting in the way of this being able to fit inside the frame. So I had to cut them a little bit, but not the end of the world. Also, there's the broken frame right there. So I took a hard hit. I did, but if you guys look at the thickness of this right here, if you guys look at the thickness of this thing, guys, it's like not even 100 thousandths. It's not very much at all. I'm assuming that was part of it. There's also, you know, I mean, you gotta have a place to put, you know, the the strap, and I understand that. You also got some holes there. I think now this is where, if I had to name some improvements, this would be one of them. Keep that curve, keep that radius there, but just fill it up a little bit more so that it's a little bit thicker here so that it doesn't break as easily. And it also broke right here as well. That's not where it initially had broken. It probably just got worn off because of me twisting it like this, trying to get it off. But that's where the hole is right there too, to put the stack. So, I don't know. I mean, that's hard to improve, I understand. But that's just something I would look at, is for sure that right there. Yeah, see, this side's okay, but it's probably because I just hasn't hit it enough, but that's what it's supposed to look like. And there's just not much there. Just fill it in a little bit right here. Keep that same radius, just make it a little bit thicker so it's a little bit more sturdy, what I would do.
Hey, Tucker from the future editing. I actually just realized, or I realized pretty much after I've done the video, that the new frame actually was updated. The new bottom plate I got, it actually did not end up having those slots where I had put in the straps were. And so it's actually a lot more sturdy. You wouldn't need to fill in that radius like I was saying, but that feature actually has been fixed, and I actually ended up just putting the strap underneath the flight controller instead of through any slots. So actually it worked out okay. Just keep that in mind as I go through the rest of this video. Okay, back to the show.
Yeah, let's get the new one out. This one's just gonna have to be unchamfered, sadly. I usually go to work and I have a pencil grinder there, and usually I'll chamfer it there, but actually it looks like someone chamfered these. Maybe not. I could be wrong. These do look chamfered though, actually, which is awesome. Does that mean the rest of the parts are as well? Okay, maybe it's just the one piece, because this one isn't chamfered at all. So this was a bit complicated and a little frustrating to deal with last time, specifically because I had to do a bunch of cutting and custom stuff because I didn't have an M3 stack set. So, and I still don't, which is my fault once again, but we're just gonna have to try to live with it. I think the first thing I'm gonna do though, real quick, is I'm going to snip this screw just so that it's long enough to thread into what I need. That's perfect. Okay, so now we got 4 proper screw lengths, so let's get into this. Okay, literally only one thing to do left, and that's just to tighten this up, and I think it might be able to be done. Okay, if you guys can kind of see, I have the zip tie going through there, and then the VTX on top is going to be held by place by that zip tie. I hesitate to say that it needs to be super tight. It just needs to be enough to hold it in place. I say that's good enough there. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put these screws back on for the motors to keep those in place. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video, but these motor screws that I'm using, actually, they did not come with the motors. The ones that came with the motors are 6mm screws, I believe, and these ones are 5. The reason I went with these ones, really hard to find, by the way. If you can find the right one, it's not so bad, but they're really hard to find. And the reason I went with them is because, again, really hard to see, but there's only so much of a gap right there to fit a screw there. So if you go any further than that little standoff with the motor, you could be risking, shorting it. And I saw that the 6mm screws kind of pointed out of that, which was kind of, it was a little scary. I don't know if it would have done anything or not, but it was just one of those things that I was not comfortable doing. What I ended up getting was the 5mm screws, those seem to fit perfectly. So if possible, get those. Here we go. We got the motors back on. Yes. Don't worry about, this has been flipping around the whole time. Again, this lens is broken, so I'm really not too worried about banging it around too much. I'm just gonna replace it anyway, so if you guys are cringing at that, that's why I'm doing that. It's just annoying. I could actually just disconnect it, but I'm not going to now at this point. Yeah, next I'm actually going to replace the lens. Basically, it's just screwing the lens off and then getting it focused and tightening it down. That's really all it is. So I'll be back here in a second and we're gonna finish putting this guy back together. Okay, so I got that figured out. I got it focused. So now I just gotta take care of getting the sides on, and then we're pretty much good to go. Well, there we go. I think it is now built. But boom, there we go. This should work really good. The only thing I gotta do now is put some zip ties, you know, on the wires here holding for the motors. Just kind of put them close to the arm so they're not just kind of hanging out there kind of the way they are right now. But we got this thing built up again. I put the camera wire kind of above the receiver. There is foam sticky pad kind of underneath of it, kind of keeping it in place, but it's not like zip tied or anything. It's just kind of sitting there, but this will kind of help it kind of stay there if it for whatever reason got loose. So it ain't going nowhere. And then on top of that, the receiver wires are kind of tucked underneath this bar here so that it kind of stays there. So yeah, there's the build there. You can see the zip tie. That's where it went. You can see right there, zip tie. It lost focus again because of course it did. Anyways, let's go back to the room and let's talk about this thing real quick. So that is rebuilding this Driblet. The only other thing, and I did mention it in my last one, was that, and it's just because I have a full-size lens in there. So you see how close that is to the edge. It literally is flush with that frame. And this is like a full-size camera lens as far as FPV goes. What I would propose is for this part right here, make this a little bit bigger, just a tad bit, just a little bit, so that maybe we could get a little bit of protection for even a full-size camera lens, which would be really, really cool. And I was almost able to get another third stack in there for like a run cam split for HD. So if there was a way we could possibly get that to fit, that would be great. But I couldn't quite get it to fit in here. It's not really needed, nor is it what it was meant for. So it's just supposed to be a little thing to practice with. And like I said in the last one, this thing is great. Even after flying it for a little bit, it still felt like I was flying a 5-inch, which is crazy, other than a couple, you know, physics things. You know, it gets a little bit more prop wash when you come down with it. But really, this thing, when you set it up with these motors and the right props, it really performs really well, and it's just fun to fly. Those would just be some things that I would try to fix, though, if you guys were to make a V2. So LeDrib, Drew, if you're listening, those are just some things that I would maybe consider. Please? I don't know. And X-Hover, if you're also listening, you're the one who produced this frame, so maybe think about that. I mean, literally, it would only take a little bit more material. Sure, it might be a bigger frame in total, perhaps, and LeDrib, if that's not what you're going for, then don't do it. It's just a thought that I had, that the image on these things are just great, that if you could just put a little bit more carbon right there, you could protect even a full-size lens, which would be great. Anyways, those were my thoughts. those were some of the issues. That was the build. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment down below. What do you guys think of the Driblet? What should the next frame be that I review or take a look at? The one I, for whatever reason, didn't even see coming, or it's been like a month or two, is the Apex. I think it's called Apex from Immersion RC, one of my favorite companies. I didn't hear about this. You can remove the arms without affecting the stack. That's amazing. That would be great. Anyways, thank you for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out some of the other videos I have. They're just fun videos. And yeah, I guess I will see you guys in the next video. Anyways, later.